Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. You are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Scagz and yours truly, the Captain. We hope you guys had a great 4th of July week/weekend. I know we did. And funny enough, the news cycle kind of waited for us, huh, pal?
It did for once. I know who didn't have a good week, and that's our good old buddy, Joe Biden. He did not.
Joe Biden.
He did the corporate press. They were stressed out for the entire past, it's been like 13, 14 days, maybe 13 days.
Since the debate, and the world has not been the same.
Yeah, it's that's been the most interesting part since the debate. I mean, we're doing another episode kind of following up the debate, right?
Yeah.
That's been the only, like, the most major topic being covered throughout the entire media right now. I mean, even throughout the podcast world, like Dave Smith has done like 4 podcasts now, or 3 or 4 podcasts, just solely on the debate. Like, it's what everyone's talking about. Everyone's focused on it. That's how that's how disastrously bad Biden's performance has been. It was definitely a changing moment in the election cycle.
So since we're almost 2 weeks out now, do any of your predictions or opinions have they changed since then? Because we were kind of unsure if they were gonna switch him out or not. I said from the start that they fed him to the wolves and they did this to him on purpose, and I kind of feel like I'm still right.
Yeah, as the days have gone on, I'm way more convinced that they are going to switch him out now for sure. My prediction at the time was that if they did do it, it would be at the DNC convention, which I think is in August.
So interesting enough, it's Wednesday, July 10th, and we're recording this, and we were like, not too much has really gone on. We kind of got to talk about Biden again. And now today I was peeking at the news. If I'm not mistaken, Trump's supposed to announce his VP this week, I think, which would probably be tomorrow at a rally that he has, I think, in Ohio. And funny enough, Joe Biden is going to have a major press conference tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be anything about him stepping down. I really just think it's to, try and take eyes off of Trump's VP pick, but who knows?
Yeah, that's interesting. Trump's done a great job so far, not being public. He's kind of just stood in the background and stayed quiet, and he's allowed this mass media frenzy focus to be on Biden afterwards, and it's kind of like negative attention. thing that's happening. He's learned, I think, from the mistake of the last time he debated Biden, where he like overtalked.
Yeah.
He learned like let him talk, let him make a mistake, right? And everyone will then talk about it. And now, I think he's definitely hoping that it's going to be Biden who's running against him because his popularity is dipping. All the polls are trending negatively for Biden, but he's done a good job of kind of just staying quiet and letting Biden take his lashings here. He stayed quiet in terms of like public appearances. He's been tweeting stuff like that, but
it must be nice for Trump for somebody else to be falling on the sword.
Yeah. Going back to what we spoke about in the last episode with the whole post-debate coverage thing, it's even more evident now, right? That it doesn't seem organic. It really reminds me of the Trump-Russia collusion coverage for all the years. Now, I remember, like, I don't know if you remember, dude, but I remember it being plastered from wall to wall on everything you were listening to. I remember back in, I think it was like 2018, I was still listening. I was listening to like the Yankees or something in the playoffs. And every day on my long 1 hour drive home from work, when they would cut to like their 30-second news blurb, it'd be about Trump-Russia collusion.
Yeah.
And it was obviously so that was the only thing they were focused on. It wasn't organic. This kind of reminds me of that, the way the corporate press is behaving. It's obviously against Biden.
Yeah, this is a great example. Now, I mean, most of Doom Nation and the people who are listening, they're already on the same page as us. But for the people who aren't on the page, and we've been screaming since, I would say, episode 1, that the media is corrupt. And, they're just these talking heads that have an agenda. And yes, they all are in on it. It's funny now because finally, it's been left versus right, Republican versus Democrat. You see now that there are no good people and there's no bad people. The media just chooses and tells you who the bad people are. And I think the left is getting their real firsthand at seeing this now, because you were literally told days prior, maybe a week prior to the debate, that's an AI fake. Joe Biden never stuttered on stage. Those gaffes aren't real. Those are all cheap fakes. And then a week later, your hero had one bad night and the media demonized. They've been demonizing him for 2 weeks. This isn't organic. This is a planned effort.
Yeah, it is. It just shows how they operate, right? And it also it kind of shatters that narrative of like red team versus blue team. That whole thing, like it's just a uniparty, and the corporate media, they're all in on it, and they only just serve like the power center, right? It's nothing they say on TV for the most part has any conviction, or they don't actually believe in it. It's just they're just reciting literally a script. That's all they're doing, right? And if the power centers, they give them a different script that's totally contradictory to the script they were given yesterday, well, gosh darn it, they're going to read that script, and that's how they'll go forward with that.
And then 3 years later, they could go on a debate with Dave Smith and be like, I should have asked more questions. Right. My only pushback on that statement is it's not them versus us right now, but once the media soon, because I feel they're going to switch Biden out, whether it's with Kamala Harris or Mike Obama or Hillary Clinton, whoever it may be. It could be anyone. It's quickly going to be right back to Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, trust us. This woman is the hero. It doesn't matter that Kamala Harris polls at 1%. That's just a racist thing to say. She's now our new Lord and Savior. She's going to bring democracy back. It's immediately going to, once they have their new, Stars and Stripes hero, their new Homelander, they'll be right back to their old ways.
Homelander, that's exactly what I was thinking of. It was literally right out of my mouth. I think it's a good point to transition to a video. We're on the topic of the corporate press. Bear with me here this week, folks. I'm on the road. I don't have the buttons. I don't got anything. I'm doing everything manually here today on the podcast.
The FBI's after Scagz, so he had to, pack it up.
I'm in Mordor, as you can see.
Yep. At the ISR you should have put a little Taylor Swift head.
Maybe I should have, instead of Taylor Swift. Yep. Something like that. I was actually doing something like that. I just didn't have time. All right, so let's go to first video. You see this, Cap, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is our favorite person in the world, Karine Jean-Pierre. And boy, this one got heated. This is her press conference, I think, 2 days ago. Let's listen and then we'll comment after.
That he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
That's a very basic, direct question.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
Eight times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
That's what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please.
No.
So every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying. I am telling you that he has seen them 3 times. That is what I'm sharing with you, right? So every time he has a physical, he has had to see a neurologist. So that is answering that question.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It is. You're asking me. I also said to you, Ed, for security reasons, we cannot share names. We cannot share names. We have to.
Others he would have met with.
We cannot.
You can share names in regards to if someone came here in regards to the president.
We cannot share names of specialists broadly, from a dermatologist to a neurologist. We cannot share names. There are security reasons. We have to.
All right, hang on. So this is the funniest point, I think, of all. We can't share names. They're talking about, for those who might be listening and not watching, they're talking about president seeing a neurologist and other specialists in regards to him being old and decrepit.
Potentially having Parkinson's, right?
Yeah, and they're saying that they can't share names that, I guess, on the specialists that he's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But they can share the results of the tests they're using. So, like privacy, HIPAA, and etc. How your medical records are supposed to be private. That's no problem. They have no problem sharing that. These positive reports given to them by the neurologist, but the neurologist's name they can't share for some reason.
Right. Well, because if you find out who the neurologist is, you could go and ask him. He could give an unauthorized answer, and the truth might come out about what's going on with old Joe Biden.
Yeah, I'm just right, exactly. I think that's the game they're playing, through and through. I think they don't want you to know who that person is, right? Because people will, try and follow up. They could also use the cover that people are going to threaten the doctor as it's just a Looney Tune thing.
Also,
imagine threatening the doctor, somebody that we kind of want to talk to and tell us what he really. Yeah.
Also, the problem. This goes again. It's their democracy. They, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to threaten the doctor, but it is a threat that the doctor might give the truth.
Yeah, that's a threat to democracy.
Yeah, the issue here, why they would really want to be hiding this, is because even though they're trying to get Biden to step down, they still have to make him look competent. Because they did tell us for the past 4 or 5 years that he's fit to run the office, and then to find out he's had Parkinson's for the past 2 years, you lied to us. It's concerning.
Yeah, they got to save face in a sense. All right, let's listen to us about the less than a minute left.
I understand that. I hear you.
Right there for anyone to see.
Ed, I hear you. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy. I think they would appreciate that too. We have to give them.
The doctor.
We have to keep their privacy.
It is public information.
I hear you. Guys, hold on a second. There's no reason to go back and forth with me in this aggressive way.
Missed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps around here.
What do you miss about? What do you miss about?
Everything he just asked about.
And then every time I come back and I answer the question that you guys asked.
Correctly, you have to come back and clean up.
I never answered the question incorrectly. That is not true. I was asked about a medical exam. I was asked about a physical. That was in the line of question that I answered.
Peter Ducey here, he reminds me of the meme of Kermit with the T.
Yeah.
Like for once, Peter Ducey doesn't have to do anything. Usually he's the only one who ever does anything like this.
Yeah.
Now everyone's chiming in. The point that they said that they're miffed because you're not sharing information with us. Now they're miffed.
Yeah.
Finally, after 10 years or whatever it's been.
I got to say, it's as much as I hate her, boy, that's a tough fucking job.
It's the worst,
it's
thankless job that exists.
It's funny because just a few years ago, if you were a doctor that was not in favor of the COVID jab, your name was posted everywhere, and they tried to stop you from being a doctor. Privacy was not of the matter then, but a neurologist that has been to the White House a few times is of the utmost urgent matter that we must keep secret and privacy.
Yeah,
actually, one of my tweets of the week is exactly about what we're talking about right now.
It doesn't even follow. Yeah, it doesn't even follow like consistent government logic. I remember many times when Trump referenced his doctor, giving him like the best. He gave me the best cleanest. Of all time, best doctor ever. Like was like promoting him in a sense. So you can. It's not like you can't.
I always loved remember when they wanted Trump to take a physical because they didn't believe Trump was fit to run office, and he came back with
he was walking down the ramp with the slippery shoes, and they said he was basically dead.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Biden falls every other week, and he's the most competent president ever. The funny thing is, the press went after Trump's White House doctor. They said, "Oh, he must not be a good doctor." Blah blah blah. All this stuff. Oh, he's lying. The doctor is clearly wrong. The doctor was the same doctor from Obama's White House.
Is it really? Pretty
sure it was in his first term. I don't know who the doctor is now. I don't know if anything has changed.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it came out that the media was going after the doctor's results of these, he's healthy. Oh, we can't have that news. The doctor must be a quack. Well, I was able to take care of Obama, your Lord and Savior.
Yeah, they'll burn him real quick. All right, let's move on to our progressive firebrand that we love so dearly.
Oh God, is this about? No, it's got to be about Biden. You see that she's trying to get 2 Supreme Court justices impeached.
Yes, she is. She's quite something.
What a loser!
Let's hear what she had to say. Remember, our progressive firebrand. She was elected to go in there and shake things up with the establishment back in 2018 or whatever it was.
Has spoken to the president over the weekend. I have spoken with him extensively. He made clear then, and he has made clear since, that he is in this race. The matter is closed. He had reiterated that this morning. He has reiterated that to the public. Joe Biden is our nominee. He is not leaving this race. He is in this race, and I support him. Now, what I think is critically important right now is that we focus on what it takes to win in November, because he is running against Donald Trump, who is a man with 34 felony convictions that has committed 34 felony crimes, and not a single Republican has asked for Donald Trump to not be the nominee. I'm here to win on this democracy. I'm here to win in November. And what's critically important is what I believe that the president needs to do, and I have communicated this, what the president and the White House should do in order to make sure that we win in November. And that is making sure that we pivot and working and increasingly commit to the issues that are critically important to working people across this country. How are we going to expand Medicare? How are we going to expand Social Security? How are we going to provide relief to people's rent and mortgages? And if we can do that and continue our work on student loans, secure a ceasefire, and bring those dollars back into investing in public policy, then that's how we win in November. That's what I'm committed to, and that's what I want to make sure that we see.
But what do you say to members who say they need to see more from the president?
Well, that is all up to their own individual, determination. I respect everyone's opinion, but I'm here to make sure that we win in November, and that's my focus.
And what about young?
Let me unload here real quick. First and foremost, if you want to win, instead of waiting till the election to help working class families, do it now, not after the election, because we all know the shtick. You ain't going to do it once you win the White House. Secondly, we always talk about like who people are owned by. It's clear. Certain seats are bought by certain entities. You know, Israel's an entity, China is an entity. I'm sure
Big
Russia,
Pharma,
Big Pharma, the
military
military industrial complex, everybody's seat. So, you know, I might be in one seat and you might be another seat. You might be owned by Pharma and I might be owned by Israel, you know. So we're not everybody is on the same team. So clearly whoever is in control of Biden is also in control of AOC's future. You know, I just wanted to point that out. But my question to you and to any of the listeners is, it's this weird thing going on of this back and forth where the media wants Biden out. There's donors pulling out. There's closed door meetings and people are crying that their savior is just not going to be able to save them. And we got to abandon ship because we have to beat Donald Trump. And then there's people like AOC who is riding with Biden to the very end. Noble way to go out. How much of this do you think is just genuine, all theatrical bullshit?
I actually don't think it is. I think what you're seeing is they're fracturing and people are hedging their bets on who they're going with and who they think is going to win. So like in this scenario, let's say Biden has been defiant. He's been like, no, I'm going to be the nominee. I'm the one who's running. In a sense, right? He said that. Now let's say that actually does come to fruition and he ends up being the nominee and then he does end up winning against Trump, right? Well, guess who stands to benefit in that scenario?
Right.
AOC, right? Because she kept his, you know, she had his back through this entire thing. Who doesn't stand to benefit in that scenario? Some of the other Congress people, like I saw a video of Adam Schiff and he was being interviewed, I think on like Meet the Press or something like that. And they were asking him basically similar questions, like, what do you think about Biden dropping out and things like this? And he was like, well, you know, I love President Biden. He's been a great president. He's done all the right things so far, this and that, whatever. But the president's going to have to prove to us in the next 4 months that he's the guy for the job and that he has the capabilities to do so. So Adam Schiff, on the other hand, is in a really weaselly way taking a shot at Biden and basically showing you he's kind of taking the other side, where AOC is completely ignoring any of the criticism, being like, no, he's fine. He's our guy. He's going to get this and that done and whatever. You made a great point, by the way, before. They control everything kind of right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like there is, you know, they have a slight, they don't control the House by a slim margin, but they've been in power now for the past 3 years. And any of these ticket items that she's talking about, they haven't gotten accomplished.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, maybe she's thinking, I can actually get a win on something I want to get done if I take this position, and then he'll work with me on whatever. Remember, AOC has never accomplished anything, right? So she's trying to somehow get a legislative win with her name on it and getting something passed. Now, obviously, you need the president to do that. You have to sign off on it and not veto it, right? And of course, then you have the president talking up whatever it is you're trying to get done. It's going to be a benefit, for you in general. So I don't think it's fake. I think it's all just like they're going through their shit and they're trying to figure out like who's going to be the guy. I think it kind of, dude. I know Trump supporters think that everything is rigged, that there's no point to voting, or that the system is completely rigged. I think this kind of proves that there is a point to it. Like they wouldn't be going through all this drama and trouble if they weren't scared that they're going to lose. You know what I'm saying? Which means that there has to be some realism to it. I'm not saying that there isn't fortification of the election behind the scenes, but perhaps their equation that they use to figure out if they're going to win or not, they factored in like, oh my God, our fortifying we're now beyond the margin of error for us even fortifying it. So now we have to kind of like rethink our plan, our strategy, whatever it is. I also think that's a point for even libertarians and agorists who think like, what's the point? It's all fake anyway. If you vote, you're quasi endorsing the system that is BS. Okay, but like they seem to care, right?
Yeah.
So that's giving me some information back. Maybe I spend
it's a very fair point.
Checking a box. It's not a high time consumption thing anyway. Just do it.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty fair assessment. But just at the end of the day, who's in charge? If it's all the different teams, it's weird. It's weird to see the fracturing and the splitting of the left, because they've been a each your own kind organization for a very long time. But at the same time, kudos to them. They have stuck together. I mean, they have a common enemy, Donald Trump, which makes it easy to stick together. But for the past, 16 years, I would say, they've been a force to be reckoned with. And one bad debate is unraveling it all.
Even in the short term, like the near history, like they have been super united on everything. They've voted or been united on almost everything as a giant block, especially since Biden. And when Trump was president now, especially since Biden came over. This is the first time you're seeing like some trepidation over there, and I'm trying to
which I find very interesting. That it's all falling apart right before the election. And even though switching out Biden is a viable option, I still don't see. It's going to have a big tell on the party. You're going to immediately know who is the most corrupt because the DNC is going to pick them. It's going to disenfranchise the everyday Democratic voter. Whether you're happy with the pick or not, you didn't pick it. The elites are picking for you. And they put you, if you're one of these diehard liberals and you have Trump derangement syndrome, you've been completely fucked over, because now, by your own admission and your own ignorance, you have to vote for whatever schmo they put on the ticket, because you can't vote for Donald Trump.
The irony of all that happening as well, while they've been literally telling you this entire time that democracy is on the ballot, and then they just like
throw democracy away.
My opinion, at the DNC convention in August, they will use the superdelegate system to nominate a different candidate. Who that candidate would be, we could speculate on that next. But they wouldn't have facilitated really any primary competition where Democratic registered voters could vote for their candidate. They then used a handful of party elites, which are the superdelegates, to then choose who the candidate is going to be. And like, this is again coming from the party that's called the Democratic Party, and it's telling you that democracy is on the ballot. The convention is the most logical time for this to happen. Now, the Libertarian Party just had its convention, and it chooses its candidate there at the convention, right? That's where Chase Oliver got chosen. And if you want to do that, the Libertarian Party doesn't like philosophically believe in democracy; it believes in liberty. So you could be a delegate, and you can then choose, vote for who you want the Libertarian candidate to be at the convention. But you have a pretty realistic opportunity to become a delegate. Like, I could have become a delegate if I wanted to, because we went to the Connecticut convention, and I could have just volunteered. All it takes is like showing up, volunteering, and then
literally going,
putting some skin in the game to some extent, and then you have a pretty direct, you have a pretty direct saying kind of who the nominee could be. They're offering you, the DNC is offering you nothing. They're offering you super delegates, people who are like well-connected, established members,
donors,
of the Democratic Party, donors, right? Things like this. They're going to just choose who the candidate is. And I got to be honest, you asked me before what my prediction is. I do think that I'm now pretty convinced that is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what's going to happen. They're going to, I've been predicting that it would be at the DNC convention, but I think that is when it happens, and that's what will happen at this point.
It's going to be interesting to see. I can't wait. Like I said, I think they set up Biden to be the fall guy so they could replace him. I'm interested in seeing, if tomorrow he comes out at his press conference and is like, I've thought it over and I'm stepping down, then I know this was all bullshit and it was all planned. But if he fights to the last day and then they do it, then I believe there's some realism behind it.
Fracturing behind the scenes. Yeah.
But if, and unfortunately, Democrats don't like listening to our show because we talk a little bit too much about truth. But I mean, what you just described, people, is being disenfranchised. You're going to dedicate yourself to this fucking party through thick or thin. You're gonna vote with them to kill babies, to open the border, flood flood the markets, piss poor, inflation policies, destroy an economy, and you're not even gonna have a choice to who you want to vote for. That's probably the biggest tragedy of all this.
On top of that, it's funny that some of them, which some will have just realized that they don't have a choice, as if Bernie Sanders didn't get screwed over in 2016, as if in 2020 they didn't screw him over again when they coordinated everybody dropping out on the same day and endorsing him, and then Elizabeth Warren staying in the race, who was kind of like Bernie Sanders, to draw some votes away from him, as if they.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Even in this election cycle, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
I was just going to bring him up.
He originally started in the Democratic Party, vying for that nomination, and they changed so many different rules to make it basically impossible for him to either be on the ballot. Obviously, they didn't host any debates between the Democratic candidates, right? The same way the RNC did, even though Trump didn't show up. Like, they didn't host or facilitate a primary process. They basically just said, no, it's just Biden. Get fucked. And now they're doing the same thing to him. Unfortunately for some people are slow. They're just realizing that now because it's a bit of an unexpected twist.
It's funny. This weekend, I am seeing some friends, and one is a pretty diehard left-wing liberal. She kind of started waking up to Biden once he wasn't pro-Palestine, which is, their biggest thorn in their side right now. I can't wait to see, so now do you see what I've been talking about? Now do you believe Biden's just a bag of, skin and bone broth? Or were you genuinely surprised at how bad he did? And then also, how do you feel knowing that you're going to have no say in who you get to vote for in November?
Yeah. I'd be interested to hear about that conversation.
Yeah.
One quick point back on RFK, and you mentioned the pro-Palestine thing. Boy, what a mistake he made. The way that he came out in favor of Israel with zero nuance whatsoever. If he had come out with a nuanced position similar to the libertarian position on Israel and Palestine, which is going to be our second topic again today, we're going to circle back to cover all what's going on there. Boy, he could have captured all of this leftist pro-Palestine energy and funneled that into his campaign, and he actually might have had a chance in that regard, or at least have been kind of the main competitor against Trump instead of Biden at this point. Instead, I do think RFK will get some percentage of the vote, but he's not going to win.
So right now, from what I was seeing on some of these polls, that he would get 2% of the votes. He
could have actually had a shot had he tried to attack Biden from the left in some real way. That's always the strategy, attack the left from the left, attack the right from the right, and try and win over, the more establishment candidate that way. All right. So let's end this part here. I'm pretty convinced that they're going to swap him out at the convention. What is your prediction in regards to if you think that's going to happen, and then who do you think it's going to be at this point in time?
I think it's going to happen because they wouldn't be putting in all this work. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see the establishment and mainstream media with egg on their face for the 1 billionth time and getting this wrong and Biden staying in. But I really think they know something we don't know. I really think this was planned and coordinated. I really don't think one way or another Biden's making it to November. You made a pretty good point about Kamala Harris the other day. Not to steal your thunder if that's who you were going to talk about. Still like the idea of Gavin Newsom, but I think they're going to have to go for big names like Obama and Hillary Clinton. My logical choice that when people have asked me this, is Hillary Clinton, because there's going to be no campaigning, right? You're just going to go from Biden was the prime was on the ticket to now so-and-so is. If you pick Kamala Harris, if you pick Gavin Newsom, if you pick Michelle Obama, if you pick any of those type of people, they have no policy on the book. There's zero nuance to how they're planning to run this country. And I think that would disenfranchise the left even further, because no matter who they pick, maybe depending who they pick, the left is going to lose some voters. Some voters are just going to go, fuck this, I'll vote for RFK. Fuck this, I'll go vote for Trump. Fuck this, I won't vote at all. They're going to lose some voters. So at least if they pick Hillary Clinton, she has policy on the book. She could bring back up what she was planning to do. You know what I mean? So at least with her, you could at least she could get out there and be like, hey, here's my plan. Whereas Gavin Newsom is, I'm just handsome. You get what I'm saying?
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. My prediction is Kamala Harris, and I'd say I'm about 65% certain that's probably what's going to happen at this point. And I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, the Democratic Party has put itself in a box, right? There's no perfect solution to this, no matter what. Like, even what you're saying, even if they pick Hillary or Gavin Newsom, that's not the perfect solution either,
right,
because of a couple of things. Number one, Kamala Harris is already the vice president, right? And they picked her because she was a woman of color, right? So now they would be skipping her over for a white person. That would be going against like this identitarian politic narrative that they've created. Number two, Biden has raised a tremendous amount of money for his campaign so far through like wealthy donors and shit like that. I found out that he cannot give that money in the war chest to another candidate. It can only be transferred to someone, his actual running mate, who is Kamala Harris. So the way I'm looking at it is, given that there's no perfect solution for them, no matter what, they could make an imperfect decision and start over with zero money, or they can make an imperfect decision and start with $400 million. And then use that $400 million to hammer you over the head with the first Black woman president of all time, and everything. And like, they won't focus on anything nuanced. They obviously aren't going to play any of the dumb clips of her laughing and saying, what has been, would have been, or whatever. They're going to just focus on her race, her gender, and all of those sorts of things.
She's still going to have to open her mouth, though.
Yes, but they'll sit there in the studio for a week and do a million takes and get her to say something that sounds cool, and they'll use that for a clip, and they'll have the budget there to do it. So that's my guess as to what direction they're probably going to go in. And then if they lose, then my original prediction could still kick in. They'll just fall back, try and tie Trump up in some sort of, investigation or something again. And I think they probably will still get a lot accomplished that they want under Trump anyway. That will be the next the next phase of our podcast will then be really holding Trump accountable on all the America First stuff, which I'm excited for. That'll be a new kind of, era in our show.
In my personal life, the idea of holding Trump accountable to me and you makes total and complete sense. To your everyday normie, it is one of the most annoying conversations I have on a regular basis, trying to tell these people that, yes, Trump is good, but if we do not hold him accountable, we are no better than the Democrats. If we do not hold him accountable, he will just put in bad policies or bad cabinet picks that, a new swamp. Fine. Yes. He drains the swamp. Huzzah. Now a new swamp's here. And all of your kids, when they're 35, 45, are going to be, everybody's going to have to be a Democrat because of the right-wing swamp that has taken over since Trump was in office. And they say, like, well, it's just better than what we have now. Right. But if we don't learn from our mistakes that got us into this place, even with your hero, Donald Trump, and this is the Trump guy saying this, we're going to be right back here. We're going to be right back in this position, and your kids are going to be doing, Two Do Men podcast 2050, telling how, we need to vote for, Hunter Biden Jr. to get into office because the Trump, we're still reeling from the Trump swamp. It's what's going to happen, people. Even if Trump does a good 4 years, there's going to be, a new Republican nominee, and just we're not going to hold him accountable because he's Republican. Yay! We're going to be right back here.
All right. So we got 4 years of that little preview for next 4 years of Two New Men podcast. Let's transition now over to the Israel. We're going to go back to
which one are we doing first?
I think we'll do the article from Haaretz that came out.
Is that the 10/7 thing, or?
Yes. So we're going to go back to where it began on 10/7. This article, I've spoken about this on the show before. The Israeli press, at least their print press, does a pretty good job of criticizing their own government and talking about things that happen. Our country does not. This was not covered widely in any corporate press or conservative media. So that's what we're here for, to do, to talk about these things. So Haaretz, it's a major publication in Israel. They have published an article, and it says IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, ordered Hannibal directive on October 7th to prevent Hamas taking soldiers captive. There was crazy hysteria, and decisions started being made without verified information. Documents and testimonies obtained by Haaretz reveal the Hannibal Operation Order, which directs the use of force to prevent soldiers from being taken into captivity, was employed at 3 army facilities infiltrated by Hamas, potentially endangering civilians as well. What does that mean? What is the Hannibal Directive? If you haven't been on Twitter this whole 7 months, I don't blame you. I've heard about the Hannibal Directive. It's essentially an order given to the military. We can allow our soldiers and other important people to be taken prisoner or taken hostage by Hamas and the Palestinians, because then they could be used as leverage against us. Therefore, you have autonomy to fire at will and kill. Even if it means like friendly fire or something like that, fair enough. Just because they feel that the risk or the risk reward scenario is too great for them. So this is their press reporting on their military giving this directive. Now, if you remember back after October 7th, the amount of civilian casualties were all blamed on the Palestinians. I'm not defending Hamas. I'm not saying that Hamas didn't kill civilians, but this the atrocity porn that was used to justify, the insane war that's happening in Gaza right now, where they're just been turned into a parking lot, was this atrocity porn stuff of them killing untold amounts of civilians. That was all based on that, right? And now you have their own media showing you that, well, it's not necessarily 100% true. Their own military most likely ended up killing a lot of the civilians themselves because they were operating under the Hannibal Directive. I have a little bit more here to go. So I can't read directly from the Haaretz newspaper because you have to subscribe and pay them to get it. So unfortunately, I had to kind of get bits and pieces of it here off of Twitter. So I'm quoting here from some part later on in the article. So it says, but such attacks took place, it turns out, not only inside outposts or bases. At 10:32 a.m., a new order was issued, according to which all battalions in the area were ordered to fire mortars in the direction of the Gaza Strip. Internal discussions in the army noted this order, attributed to Brigadier General Rosenfeld, was heavily criticized, since at the time, the IDF did not have the complete picture of all the forces in the area, including civilian soldiers and civilians. Some of these were in open areas or in woods along the border, trying to hide from the terrorists. At that point, the army did not know the number of people who had been kidnapped. We thought they numbered dozens at that stage, a military source told Haaretz. Firing mortars at the Gaza Strip would endanger them as well. Furthermore, another order given at 11:22 a.m., according to which no vehicle would be allowed to return to Gaza, took this a step further. A new development occurred at 2 p.m. All the forces were instructed not to exit border communities toward the west in the direction of the border, with an emphasis on not chasing terrorists. At that point, the border area was under intense fire directed at anyone in that area, making it a danger zone. The instruction, says the Southern Command, was meant to turn the area around the border fence into a killing zone, closing it off toward the west. At 6:40, military intelligence believed that many terrorists were intending to flee together back to the Gaza Strip in an organized manner. This was near Kibbutz Be'eri, Kfar Aza, and Kisufim. Following this, the army launched artillery raids at the border fence area, very close to some of these communities. Shortly afterwards, Shells were fired at the Erez border crossing. The IDF says it is not aware of any civilians being hurt in these bombardments. Okay. It's interesting, Cap, going back to this because we were camping. Remember when October 7th happened? So we were like oddly disconnected from in the moment what was going on.
They waited.
It was a clusterfuck, right?
You know, it's the one thing I took away from, well, the two things that I took away from this is what happens when you don't hold your leaders accountable for anything, and everything they say is gold and from God's mouth to your ears. And secondly, I mean, it's a moot point now because people don't care. This is the new thing to follow and to support, even though nobody's following it, which is weird. The chain's finally been broken. Nothing is ever as it seems. Okay. You started off by talking about the fear porn. What did you call it? Right? Fear porn. Yeah, the atrocity porn.
The babies being beheaded, the people at the festival, etc., etc., etc.
Right. I mean, that's all we heard 24/7. And nobody would even think that this is possible. And just the idea of speaking of this on American soil, on American airwaves, is anti-Semitic. Okay?
We're most likely now demonetized on this video, and I'll have to appeal and all that stuff as usual. I've kept it primarily clean with language, but now we start talking about this, demonetized.
So nothing is ever as it seems, and just brings it back to the point, don't always trust mainstream media. Now you could go ahead.
Yeah, don't always trust your government either. Like, they'll kill you if, they're concerned that the situation on the battlefield is tipping not in their favor in some way or another. They'll just order a directive and kill all of you. Again, like what happened on October 7th, a lot of the atrocity porn was used to sell the heavy-handed response in Gaza that the United States funds, and I've ad nauseum talked about how it's going to create more terrorists that hate America and probably create the situation for Americans to be targeted at some point. How the right-wing media, the conservative media in America ignores this and offers zero criticism of Netanyahu's government,
which is amazing.
Like, again, the right-wing media in America is in the business of criticizing government. But I don't hate Israel, right? I'm talking about Netanyahu's version of government. They're a political party, just like Joe Biden. And we're in the business of criticizing leaders, right? But they offer no criticism of any of this.
They'll
criticize. There is mountains of evidence here of things he could be criticized over.
But they'll criticize Zelensky.
Yeah, right. It doesn't.
Which because the other annoying thing that I have when I talk to the right-wing Trump supporting people is they believe Israel's in the right here. They believe it's correct. They don't believe that just destroy all of Gaza, destroy Palestine, all this stuff. And I'm just like, you guys have learned nothing. It is so bizarre to me to see the common voter who has been berated in the manner which we have for the past decade now, and to be so adamantly against Ukraine and be like, they're just sending all our money. Greatest salesman in the world. Every time he shows up here, he walks away with $60 billion with a B. And it infuriates everybody because you got a head on your shoulders and a brain in that head. And you're like, wait a minute. What the fuck are we doing? This isn't our war. But then Israel comes along and all that goes out the window. And it is fucking mind-numbing.
Yeah, it's kryptonite.
That's a great way of putting it. It's kryptonite.
It is. It's unfortunate. I was hoping that the conservatives and the right wing had taken a turn towards actual being anti-war. It just depends on the war. Just put it that way. Just like the leftists. And that's the story on that. Now, with that being said, I have one other video which I found interesting that I want to play, and then me and Captain could give our thoughts on. Now,
before we start this, I watched this earlier. I don't know if it's just I'm stupid. I don't know if this guy is just too intelligent for me, but this was one of the most weird things I've heard in a while. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not getting it. Maybe somebody in the comments can help me out here. But Scagz, say your piece before we.
Sure. So we're going to watch a video here of Douglas Murray. He is on Ben Shapiro's show, and they're talking about this whole thing. They're talking about anti-Semitism and the Jewish people in the world and all that stuff. I will say that I've liked at times in the last couple of years Douglas Murray's takes on the woke stuff. Right? I think he's made some good points about how insane the woke stuff is and how like this mind virus that is wokeism is a threat to the West. And I agreed, right? But I didn't look too much into Douglas Murray. And now I kind of see that Douglas Murray's shtick is that everything is a threat to the West. That what Douglas Murray says is a threat to the West. That doesn't mean he was not wrong about the woke mind virus or something like that. I think it just kind of points back to the fact, the thing that I've said on this podcast before. It's easy in a way to get a man is not a man. A man is a man and a woman is a woman. Right. I don't think that's a tremendously complicated issue that you have to be intellectual to understand. But the nuance of war and violence and peace and geopolitics is very complicated. And time after time, you see a lot of these anti-woke, figures, intellectuals, podcasters. They're great on a man is a man and a woman is a woman. But when it comes to war, they never saw a war they didn't like. And I think that's worth noting here for people like us and anybody listening in general. So it's a 4-minute clip. It's interesting. Captain and I are going to attempt, us two retards are going to attempt to criticize the genius that is Douglas Murray. Let's go for it.
If this wild lack of empathy for the state of Israel means anything, we've got to come back to this primordial triple standard. And we know it can come from anywhere. Anti-Semitism is a shape-shifting virus. It can come from left or right. It can come from everywhere all the time. I think the one thing that's interesting about the movement of some people on the right against Israel and playing around with anti-Semitic tropes for sure, in a way which you could predict but maybe not expect, is that they seem to think that there's something strange. I get this a bit against myself and my, preoccupation with this issue in the last year. Going back many years, but particularly in the last year. And people say, well, why are you so bothered about Israel? And I hear that from the right. The left don't care. They know I'm beyond saving. But on the right, I hear that. And I think they don't realize, they think it's some weird thing. Like, what is this small state? Why does it bother you? I don't think they've even remotely reflected on what I regard as the deepest reasons to care. It seems to me, if, as you well know, Western civilization is based on the legacy of Athens and Jerusalem. Athens is under great assault always, but it's not actually under existential assault at the moment. What is being attempted by Israel's enemies is the philosophical and cultural equivalent of burning all the libraries of Alexandria. This is one of the underpinnings of Western civilization, utterly at risk.
Okay. We're going to come to our first point where I pause. I'm not sure if you're going to have any points here.
I already have 2 points, so.
Sure. Go ahead. Say your points first.
This guy is against the woke, is against woke culture. It's a mind virus that's going to destroy the West, but believes anti-Semitism is a shape-shifting virus that could come from any direction at all times. People, during the last election, we had the BLM riots, and if you didn't support them, you were racist. Now you have this quote-unquote genius telling you that if you don't support Israel, you're an anti-Semite. AKA you're racist. They just took out the racism word and replaced it with anti-Semitism. It's the same exact thing that we've been dealing with during the last election cycle. Here's the playbook. It's as simple as that. So I find it very ironic that somebody who is so against the woke culture can't see how anti-Semitism is being used in the exact same manner. And then he's sitting there saying Israel is not under an existential crisis. What
Athens
Israel's with
he's saying Athens is not under existential crisis, but Jerusalem is.
And that what Israel's enemies are doing. Who's Israel's enemy here that we're talking about? We're talking about Gaza, Palestine, Hamas, mainly the Hamas terrorist group. And this point's going to tie into what he says in the second half. Israel is one of the largest militarized nations in the world. It's more heavily militarized than some European nations, if I'm not mistaken. They have money to burn and ammo to fire. This existential crisis from Jerusalem and Israel's enemies are not a real crisis. Just like Russia invading Ukraine, if Russia wanted this over, it'd be over. There'd be no more Ukraine. Yes, we'd be in World War III, but there'd be no more Ukraine if Putin said so. Same thing here, people. And Palestine is, I think it's even a smaller, shorter distance to take over than all of Ukraine would be. Israel could wipe them off the map, which they have been doing.
Which are working on.
Yeah. So I don't really understand the point of what Israel's enemies are doing here now, and then on top of this, it's going to affect the West too. So
I'm not like a philosopher or anything, folks, but I understand the points, the deep points that Douglas Murray is trying to make. He's tying Athens in Greece to kind of like the birthplace of democracy, freedom, liberty, all those ideas. It was like Plato, Aristotle, all that stuff, all those ideas, transferred into the Roman Empire and Republic and democracy, the Magna Carta, everything that makes the West great. Freedom, right? It was kind of born to a sense in Athens. And he's saying that those things are under, threat all the time, but they're not under existential threat. Athens, that idea, because existential threat means like it's in threat of being extinguished forever. But Jerusalem it's under threat of being extinguished forever, and Jerusalem is the other piece of things that made the West great. What does he mean by that? He means that the major religions of Judaism and Christianity kind of came out of Jerusalem, that school of thought, and they're the things, they're the kind of the religious and cultural underpinnings of Western society. I guess you could say part of the reason why Western society has been so great is we've been steeped in that tradition. The thing is that Israel only exists since 1948, right? And Western civilization in the United States and Europe and everything has been flourishing before that, right? It's not like when Israel didn't exist and Jerusalem was under control of the Arab Palestinians at the time, pre-1948, and et cetera, that Western civilization was on the brink of collapse because Jerusalem wasn't in the hands of Christians or Jews. So, like, I don't even understand. He's making like this deeply profound point of history and cultural underpinnings, and then he's trying to tie it to like just who stands in a town in Israel, and how like if these certain people are standing in this town, then everybody collapses on the other side of the world. Then he's presenting it as if he's this super well thought out intellectual or something like that. That being said, but let's keep listening, because there's more to this that
this is where Doom Nation, for the people that are still listening, this is where he really goes off the rails.
And not in a sort of metaphorical way where people might use it as a sort of book subtitle. The real thing. I mean, I've sometimes thought about it this way. I haven't tried this out in public before. How many Jews are there in the world?
15 million.
This may come across really cool, but let me put it. There are lots of conflicts in the world, and I've covered a lot of conflicts involving a lot of people. But it's conceivable that at some point, 15 million Christians could be killed. It would be a disaster, a tragedy. It's conceivable that at some point, Burma, India, 15 million Muslims could be killed. It would be a disaster. It would be a tragedy of an unimaginable scale, of mid-20th century scale. But if 15 million Jews were killed, that's the end of the story. That's it. Now, what does that mean? The Jewish people, it's again, you can store off everyone from Pharaoh to Hitler. Disappeared in the 21st century. Everyone else, in my view, wouldn't survive either. Wouldn't survive either. Western civilization could not survive the destruction of the Jewish state because it would be, among much else, the cutting away of the whole tree that we're on, and Western civilization would die. So I regard the existential threat against the Jewish people to not just be about the Jewish people. It matters deeply to me that it is about the Jewish people. But it also matters to me because it's about America. Could America survive?
Okay, I want to pause real quick and just go back to what he says here. Real quick, I thought this is probably the most important part about this, where he says,
it matters deeply to me that it is about the Jewish people.
So it matters deeply to me that it's about the Jewish people. It's not. It's not about the Jewish people for him. It's about the state of Israel, which he's defending, which he's tying. He's tying the concept of the state of Israel failing or falling or being destroyed somehow, which is magical in of itself, like you just covered, right? Because it's not practical. They have the strongest military in the area. That if that government, if that state somehow is overrun by Muslim savages, right, and it collapses, that Jewish people all around the world will just they vanish, right? So no, that's not what's actually going to happen. I don't foresee if some battlefield, mistake occurs and Israel falls and Iran takes over, that all of a sudden the streets of America somehow all the
start to crumble
here, just like Thanos, they're just snapped and vanish, right? So no, your concern is not the Jewish people; it is the state, the government of Israel, who you, Douglas Murray, are in the business of criticizing governments, but you don't criticize that one ever, even in the way that we would do it, where we're like, hey, look, on October 7th, they fucked up and they got a lot of their own people killed. We don't like that. We think they deserve criticism for that. It's this just more of this idea of anything you say that criticizes the current form of Israel's government is anti-Semitic, like you were saying before. You're a racist. You criticize whatever it is, foreign policy they have, whatever action they've taken, you are a racist, point blank. And I'm the big smarty pants guy, and because I talk with a English voice, it sounds really convincing. That's what it is.
Yeah. You want to play the rest of it, or?
Yeah, there's a couple more seconds.
Yeah, let's just finish it up, and then I'll comment.
It matters to me because it's about America. Could America survive if the Jewish people were no more on its watch, or everybody was forcibly deported from the Holy Land? Come on. Of course not. Could the isolationists bear the repercussions of that across the Middle East and elsewhere? Of course not. So I find this blitheness and the frivolity of it to be absolutely intolerable among the critics on the right.
Which would be us, I guess you could say.
That is one, the idea. You put it into even better perspective of something I didn't even think of. Israel was created in 1948. America was founded in 1776. So if anything, if this guy was right, we would bare minimum be blown back to 1948. Okay, we would still have cars and telephones. All right, it wouldn't be the end of the world. The idea that Israel is the empire is just not true. America is the empire on the hill. We run this shit. We run the world. We have enemies, but that's what comes with being top dog. If America ceased to exist, maybe Israel,
He's in trouble.
maybe Israel
maybe
would
now,
not.
Maybe now
Yeah.
Jewish people are in trouble. Right?
Yes, yeah. Maybe now 15 million Jewish people would just Thanos snap off the planet, but not the other way around. If Israel and the Jewish people are so important, that makes them the empire. So therefore, why are we supporting them? Why do they need American aid? And it's not because America's future hinges upon Israel's success. It's because they're, the military-industrial complex is going to benefit in the trillions with a T in profiting off of conflict in Israel. It is absurd. America might have a lot of problems, and we might have a dummy for a president. We might have a million problems with corruption, but we are the empire at the end of the day. And for this guy to think that if Israel was to fall, America wouldn't have a chance. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too stupid and I don't understand what Big Smarty Pants is talking about. But no, I'm sorry. That doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, it is ironically, God, I hate to now say he's a racist, but it's a very supremacist way of thinking. That if my people and my, state, the Jewish state, falls and my people fall, all of the world falls because we're the best. Mm-hmm. And if we fall, everything goes to shit because of us. That's very supremacist.
It's propaganda, gaslighting.
Yeah. It just is. I hate to even bring it up that way, but it is. It's a supremacist, a racial supremacist way of thinking by Douglas Murray. And I'll go on to further say his whole spiel here, in my opinion, I tweeted this out the other day. All his argument does, he's attempting to enshrine Israel's welfare queen status among the Western nations, right? So if you truly now, Douglas Murray, he is convincing a lot of people like him, like I was talking about before. He's very critical of the anti-woke stuff. So there's this anti-woke to support government of Israel pipeline that occurs, right? And if you follow guys like this, and then you go down that pipeline, you will be convinced by Douglas Murray that America should, and the Western nations forever, should fund the defense of Israel. America last, Israel first, right? Yep. I don't think Israel should be destroyed. I don't think Israel should fall. I don't think that would actually be good for the world, right? I think I've even told you before, what the Zionists have accomplished, it's admirable to some
impressive,
extent. Yeah. They basically said, we're going to go make our own country over there. And then they went and actually accomplished it, right?
Just a heads up, I just got a low battery warning, so if I disappear, show's over for me.
Our gripes are that you can't do that at the expense of other people, right?
Yeah.
That's our gripe here. I'm not saying you can't have your own country and your own whatever it is you want, but you just can't do it at the expense of the liberty of other people. And you also shouldn't be doing it at the expense of me and the taxpayer and everyone else, that we're footing the bill from him. So that's all Douglas Murray is trying to do here. He's running a psyop for the Israeli government.
Living in imagination land.
Convinces you as to why you would be okay, why you on the right would be okay with us, funding Israel more. As for the people who are mad about the funding going to Ukraine, Israel is the historical largest recipient of American taxpayer funding, more than Ukraine's catching up, right? But over the course of time, no country has been given more money.
If Israel was to fall, and I don't want Israel to fall, it would actually save America money, and we would probably be better off. Not better off, but financially.
Yeah, he talks about there's one last point. It's all just so bizarre and not based in reality. He talks about if everyone was to say again, the Muslim horde kicks out everyone from Israel, and they're all refugees. Where do you think they're going to go? America.
Yeah.
We take them in, right? And we would shelter them from real, possible death and oppression if that were the case, right? So even on the stuff he's trying to Like, no, there'd be nowhere to go. It would all fall apart if it wasn't for this one government and this tiny piece of land that's provoking all its neighbors all the time. And
It's
you
only been
refund it.
around for 70 some odd years.
Yes, it's all just so hollow and dumb on its face, and it's being made by, one of the most brilliant commentators that are out there. So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Any other thoughts on this, Cap, before we do tweets?
No, let's get into tweets of the week before this computer dies.
All right, let's do it. Just give me 1 second. I know you got one video. You told me you gave me a heads up. So
save that one for last, even if I'm not here. It'll be a good laugh.
Okay, hold on 1 second, actually. So because I don't have the buttons, it's a little bit harder for me to do tweets of this. I don't have dual screens either, so it's a little bit more difficult for me. I go back and forth a couple of times now to do this, but we'll get it done. All right, so I can't even show you the tweets of the week, but anyway, so this is my first tweet of the week, and it's from Jeremy at the Quartering. And he says, Dear Hawk Tua girl, don't bother trying to start a podcast or influencer career. People will move on before you can even get started. Open the OnlyFans now, bank 2 to 3 million, and walk away before the 15-minute window closes. This is actual, authentic business advice. I read this, and I'm not. We've covered in detail. Like, I don't think OnlyFans is good, but I read that, and I'm like, God damn it, he's right.
I said it.
Go ahead.
I said it back when they were searching for her. She should start an OnlyFans, make 2-3 videos with the top male performers on OnlyFans. Forget 2-3 million. There is she would probably bank in the first week $20 million. I'm not joking. In a month's time, this girl could probably have upwards of $35 million. I don't know what the overhead would be, but she could ride off into the sunset. Funny enough, there's this sexy little person, midget woman on Instagram, and she has an OnlyFans account, and she made $30 million in 2 years. Wanted to comment on her picture like, yo, just cancel the account, ride off into the sunset with all your millions, and live a happy life. You don't need to do this anymore. 30 million, you'll never have to work again.
Yep. Look, polish 2 or 3 knobs.
Yeah.
Put 20 million in the bank, walk away.
Yeah.
It's not a bad deal. And then you never have to do anything again that you don't want to do in your life. So I'd do it if that was the case. If you do, men, if I got to polish 2 or 3 knobs to make $30 million, you heard it here first, boys.
$10 a penis? Hell yeah, let's go. $10, $10 million.
What did I say? $20 is $20.
Yeah,
right?
$20, $20.
All right, here's the captain's next week. Go for it.
All right, because since it's so small. All right, this is from Real Ben Geller. He is a political strategist. This was the comment I had about Biden being sick. Pretty incredible that the White House, who demands the American people show a medical record to keep their jobs, now demand medical privacy when questions are asked about the neurological health of the President of the United States. The hypocrisy is incredible.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying before. We can't know who the doctor is. We could only talk about good things, but you would have lost your goddamn job if you didn't show that little vaccine card.
It's like the whole thing is just so steeped in irony. It's absolutely.
What is it that you used to say? The power of now or whatever. Whatever, like the power of like being in the moment or something. Whatever the moment.
Made me sound like Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
we're in the moment.
I'm the one screwing it up, but like whatever they need to say or do to be in power at that exact moment is what they say or do.
Oh, there is no truth but power.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's
so
it. They don't believe
whatever the power move is the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever they need to say. Yep. All right. Let's go over to my next tweet. We got 3 each this week, folks. Bear with us here. This next one is from Michaela Peterson. Not wherever she is. She is Jordan Peterson's daughter. I've talked a lot about Jordan Peterson on this podcast before as well. I like him a lot. I think he's a very thoughtful, insightful guy. Also has been very much so against the woke insanity. I think he has also shown himself to be another one of these like anti-woke podcaster to defender of the Israeli government pipeline sort of guys. Here is his daughter, who's also commentator in some regard as well. Michaela says, I cannot believe I'm seeing Nazis in my lifetime that didn't grow up in a cave. She's an MD spewing cherry-picked data while completely ignoring facts like almost 30% of Nobel Peace Prize winners are Jews. Maybe there does need to be some content moderation, Elon Musk. What's she talking about? Some account tweets some dumb stuff about how Jewish people own certain things. One of the Petersons, the irony here, one of the Petersons, the family who has been on the cutting edge of opposing censorship and the woke insanity, the daughter is now telling Elon Musk there needs to be content moderation because somebody said a mean thing about a Jewish person on the internet. They literally become the exact woke leftists they oppose when it comes to this topic of Israel.
It's a new form of woke projection.
It is.
It's anti-woke projection making you woke.
It's revealing, man. They never this whole time. Maybe that's why they've been so good at opposing it.
Yeah,
because they were so much like it, just in a different subject.
Yeah,
right. But they're this exact same people. That's how they were. They were on the cutting edge of opposing the woke stuff and like
what they were experts in.
They understood it better than everybody.
Yeah,
perhaps. Yeah. So wild. All right.
All right. My next tweet
Yep.
is from President Joe Biden.
Yep. Queuing it up. Hang on.
And it just every word in this tweet is 100% a lie. Trump's Project 2025 agenda is extreme and dangerous. Together, we must defeat him. And there's a picture. Trump reveals new details for Project 2025. Trump says he wants to let states monitor women's pregnancies. No, he doesn't. Never said that. Trump says he supports states throwing women in jail if they get an abortion. No, never said that. Trump says he might ban abortion medication nationwide if he wins. First and foremost, Trump just came out a few days ago saying he has nothing to do with Project or Agenda 2025. Agenda 2030 is a real thing. Go look that up, Joe Biden. All of your cronies and all of your buddies are in perfect lockstep with Agenda 2030. This is, they sit there and talk about how much Trump lies. I can't believe that this tweet isn't getting ratioed the fuck out of it, or that there's no community guidelines under it, because not a word of it is true.
Yeah, the whole Project 2025 thing, I mean, like, I'd vaguely heard of it. I never looked into it. Don't really know what's in it or about it. The only thing I do know is that, I know more about it now because it seems to be an astroturfed thing by the establishment where they're like, shit, we need to change the narrative. Let's pick something. Let's pick something, and everybody start do what we do best. Everyone starts saying the same thing over and over again, right? And let's just say the same thing. Project 2025, whatever, to distract from Biden's failures at the moment. It's like some think tank's plan. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to actually do directly with Trump. Trump has publicly disavowed it since then. And I'll be honest with you, like, if anyone reads it, there's going to be things you like. There's going to be things you don't like, as with anything else in the world. I will tell you that Trump is way too pragmatic to actually come up with a plan like this. Some of my biggest criticisms of Trump are that he is too pragmatic. He doesn't hold any sort of ideology. His ideology is just like, it's me, I'm the best. When I'm there, I win, and we'll win because it's me. He doesn't have any sort of like structure or belief or underpinning like I would with libertarianism to anything he believes. It's just whatever to get me in there, and when I get in there, everything's better magically. So it's a complete opposite. That he doesn't have any actual sort of founding document thing like this that he would adhere to, and the stuff on it is not Trump's at all. It's bizarre. It's the fakest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's an Operation Mockingbird op.
It's not even a good one.
Project 2025. No, it's not a good one at all. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, wow, this Project 2025 thing is based as fuck. All right. So for some reason, I lost my last tweet. It duplicated with one of the other ones I have. So we are just going to go over to the captains. Let me cue it up here.
It's a TikTok. Hopefully we can play it and hear it.
We will. We will. All right.
Also, if you've noticed, TikTok is flooded with positive Joe Biden posts, which is quite weird.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I digress. We'll talk about that another week.
The internet has been in an uproar since finding out that Rosa Parks' husband had a car.
Wait,
Good night, everybody.
hold on.
I looked this up. Rosa Parks' husband did have a car.
Wow.
Okay. I don't have
So, man,
any comments. That information needs to be out there everywhere because it is the funniest fucking thing in the world.
So history, I guess you could say, isn't what they taught you.
No,
At the end of the day. And what's the other comment you said before? Yeah, it's
nothing's
things aren't
as they seem. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Important to sign off.
I hope you guys enjoyed that little laugh at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's been another great one. Doom Nation, thank you guys so much. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Scagz, any final words?
Adios.
Adios, Doom Nation. See you next